Welcome to Top 3, where entrepreneurs share their secrets and mistakes. I am Marcia O'Connor, CEO and founder of the O'Connor Group, and your host for today for Top 3. So today, as you know, we have amazing entrepreneurs on the show, and today we have a good friend, Neil Cooper. And Neil is not only a good friend, he is also a fellow EOer. And he is the current founder and executive partner of Royer, Cooper, Cohen, and Braunfeld, LLC, a fast-growing Mid-Atlantic boutique law firm that he founded in 2012. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey, why he decided to actually start a law firm, and, how is it going? Because now it's obviously 2024. So, Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marcia. It's great to be here and very exciting to talk about this topic. It's my favorite topic to talk about. So thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And so you started this 2012. What was going through your head saying, maybe it's time for me to start my own law firm?
Yeah, so I started at one of the world-class law firms, Morgan Lewis, in Philadelphia, and got a great start and training for my career. I felt that entrepreneurial bug early on. I came from a family of entrepreneurs. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs and other people in my family as well. And I decided after several years at the very large law firm to go to a emerging growth company where I was one of the first two lawyers in the company. And they were going public at the time and was very exciting and growing fast. It was a software company that was international and expanding very quickly. Went from about 400 employees to over 800 in the 5 years I was there. Went from about 40 million in revenue to over 100 million in revenue while I was there. We did go public, although it was a very bumpy ride. So learned lots of lessons. When I joined, we were in the process of going public, and we had to pull our IPO when the market turned on us in the fall of 1998. And the only company that got out at that time was eBay, rightfully so. But so we spent 2 years finding alternative financing, refining our business model and our financing structure and our management team. And then we're able to go public. We were actually one of the last companies to get out before the window shut again in the summer of 2000. And we did well for a while. Our market cap tripled in a few short months.
Great.
And things were looking amazing. Then we hit the recession.
Of course.
In late 2000, 2001, 2002. And so, things unfortunately went backwards, and companies were cutting back on their enterprise software spend. And, we did see one competitor got the formula right, and they, it was kind of the turtle and the hare approach. They were content to go into companies and take small pilots first, with the hopes that they would probably even lose money on those pilots with the hopes that they would do an amazing job on those pilots. The customer would love them, and then they would get the big order, a year or two down the road. We tried to go in with, we have great new technology, and we did, and it was like the latest cutting edge stuff. But we're like, give us the big deal now. And that worked when we were in the upside of the market, and that we were not a .com company, but this was in the internet and .com phase of the stock market and of the tech world. And that worked in that time. And then when we hit tougher times, budgets were scrutinized more carefully, and it was a lot harder slog at that time. So we ended up getting taken private, and everybody moved to Texas. And I had to decide, do I want to move to Texas? Do I want to go back to a law firm like I had been at? And that was an amazing opportunity in and of itself. And did I want to do something else? And I really, looked hard at myself and thought hard. And at the time I looked at my wife and I said, I need to do something for myself. I had offers from, lots of law firms and, very impressive law firms in Philadelphia and elsewhere.
Right.
The company wanted me to move to Texas and be the general counsel down in Texas, or even they even offered me to stay in Philadelphia and fly to Texas every week.
Wow.
But I really felt, Marcia, I just had that gene in me that said, I got to go do something on my own and try it. So my idea was I'll start my own law practice, and I will propose to my company that they'll be my first client. And I didn't know whether they would say yes or no or get lost, but they said yes. Happy to do it. And so that was a great start, because I
Yeah.
started with with for my world, that was a blue chip client to start with. And of course, at the time, we had a lot of the executives going other places because of the turn in the company and the economy, et cetera. So I had I had clients at smaller companies almost immediately, because they were I had good relationships. I had even if they didn't have good relationships with each other, they had good relationships with me. So I built a lot of bridges within the company, and I was able to call those people, and some of them today are still my best clients. And we're talking about 20 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah. So I did that, and I started a small law practice, small law firm that was really driven by me. And
Was it just you when you first started?
when I first started, it was just me
Okay.
alone. I started out of my house. My kids were little. I remember one call. I don't know why this is occurring to me, but I remember one call with a client, and this was before Zoom, really. So it was just a call, and I remember my 3-year-old banging on my office door looking for me, and the client's like, "Well, what's going on there?" Anyway, it was a great time. I was able to move out shortly after, but shortly after I started, and then start to hire people, more on a part-time basis. But after about 5 years, I sort of recognized that I was at a turning point, which was either I was going to try to grow this thing on my own, which it was going really well, or I was going to bring in partners to do it with me. And I
Was that
actually
your
remember,
intention though? Like when you first start out, I'm not so sure people have the intention immediately to hire people. They think they're going to do their own thing. They have their freedom. They have their own clients and all. Was that always basically part of the plan?
no, no, it's a great question. My original plan was to keep it small,
Hmm.
and very profitable. And when you're smaller, you don't have as many costs, and you
Right.
don't and you can, even if you have far less revenue, you can still do well on the bottom line. So that was my original plan. But
Hmm.
after doing it for about 3, 4, 5 years, I started to realize that I was at a fork in the road. Either this was going to be my life for the next 20, 30 years,
Hmm.
or I was going to try to grow larger. And when you grow larger in the legal business, you get opportunities that are different than when you're smaller.
Yep.
Just by the nature of certain and sophistication of certain kinds of transactions, of different kinds of work, like litigation and tax and real estate and employment and a bunch of other subject matters. So um, I felt like I wanted to grow what I had, grow into broader subject matter. And I really needed more people to do that, because my expertise, my personal training and expertise is in mergers and acquisitions,
Yep.
um, securities, public and private, venture capital, private equity, and related transactional matters like software and internet and things like that. So, I'm not in court. I'm not a litigator. I'm not a tax guy. I do some employment because of in my general counsel role,
Mhm.
I was able to negotiate a lot of employment agreements and when we needed to, severance agreements and also equity compensation plans and things like that. But I'm not an HR expert, or an employment expert, and I know you know a lot about that.
Just a
But
little bit.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I looked at the opportunities, and this is how I think. I think in terms of opportunities. I really try to think in terms of opportunities. I know our legal training in law school trains us to, identify problems and issues and challenges. And that's, to some degree what clients hire us to do, but they also hire us to help them find the opportunities in good situations and also in challenging situations. And that's how my brain thinks. So I was seeing the opportunities to grow larger. And then the main decision that I had to make was, do I do this myself, where
Yep.
I'm the, so to speak, I'm the chief, what do they say, the chief chef, cook, and bottle washer, right?
Everything. Yep.
Everything, which is what I was doing. Or do I, look hard at my strengths and my weaknesses and try to focus on my strengths and find partners who are good where I'm weak. And I read this book as part of this group it wasn't a business group, it was a philanthropic group, but that was reading a book called Strengths Finders, which
Yep.
maybe a lot of businesses use. And I think it's still around today. And I read the book and I took the test, and I was like, I looked at that, and it, told me where I was strong and where I was weak. And I said, you know what, I can sort of muscle my way through my weaknesses.
Yep.
But do I really want to do that? And I looked at my inside myself, and I said, no, I don't. I'd rather focus on my strengths. That I forget the exact line from the book, or maybe it was from a different book, but you know, it you can do a lot more focusing on your strengths and let other people focus on their strengths, and hopefully they're complementary.
But
And
how'd
so,
you do that when you first started? Like, let's go back
yeah.
and you go back into what you were doing and how you were doing it. How did that work? Because like getting clients isn't easy. People think automatically, "Oh, you're so lucky to have all these clients." How did you know like those are the industries that you were going to go into?
Well, it was, like I was saying a little bit before, I think it was easier for me than for some. I was at a law firm, a large law firm, and actually I had gotten clients at that large law firm, even as a very, very young lawyer, a junior lawyer. People, I was able to relate to people, and they tried to hire me. The challenge I had at that law firm is that that law firm was so successful and had so much work that the partners really wanted you only doing their work. So
Yeah,
I
I
found
bet.
myself, the clients that I was bringing in, I found like I was able to work on them at midnight, which is not optimal, right? Because
No.
um,
You burn
so
out quick. People don't realize how fast people burn out when you're on your own. It's
yeah.
actually really difficult to do, and people just don't get that. They think it's
Oh
automatic.
yeah.
I'm like, no, no, I understand. You burn
Yeah.
out really fast because you're doing all the work,
All
everything.
right, you're getting the work, and you're doing the work, and you're doing the back office, and you're doing the marketing, and you're doing, the accounting and the HR and bookkeeping and everything. So but I because I went to the software company from my large law firm, I kind of grew into that industry focus. And even when I was at the large law firm, I did a little bit of software, but I also did biotech and medical device. I learned that I liked, sort of the fast growing industries that were looking to the future, trying to develop something new that was going to help lots of people,
Right.
hopefully along the way, create lots of jobs and make lots of money, but also help lots of people. And so I like those kind of industries. And software over the past, I don't know how many years you want to say, whether it's 30 or 50 or whatever it is, has been one of those types of industries. Medical devices, healthcare, health software, and just software generally has,
Yeah.
but so that's the industry that I found myself in, the software industry, because that's the industry my company was in. And so when executives left that company, whether it was a sales executive or a finance executive or an HR executive or the CEO or what have you, they tended to go to other companies of similar nature. Not all of them were software.
Yeah.
Some of them could be internet, some of them could be in the biotech area, some of them could be in other areas, but they were all, future looking, forward looking, optimistic, high growth areas. And that's where I like to be.
So
Um,
how many, I mean, moving forward to 2024, how many partners do you guys have now?
So we have about 65 total lawyers.
Wow.
And
That's
when we
great.
started this firm, and when I back to, 2007 and 8, when I started the predecessor to this firm, I realized that I wanted to have partners. I merged with another partner, John Royer. So it's Royer, Cooper, Cohen, Braunfeld. He had a boutique, like, a small boutique like me. He had maybe 3 lawyers and I had 2. We had 5 when we started. Now we have 65.
Wow.
We had 1 office in King of Prussia. Now we have 3 offices, one in Conshohocken, 1 in Center City, Philadelphia, which is where I am right now, and then 1 in Manhattan.
Mhm.
There are others that are in the roadmap potentially, and we're excited about that because we see lots. Like I was saying before, I'm an opportunities guy, and everywhere I
Yeah,
look, I see opportunities. So I see lots of opportunities. I know you know that from your business, but we have
absolutely.
65 lawyers. We have about 25 partners of the 65 lawyers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good percentage and all. How so when they come on board as partner, they have to bring their own revenue and all, but how big do you want to be? Like, because I think that's the biggest question an entrepreneur gets. Okay, I have an office, I have people, I have employees, and I'm like, okay, now how big do I really want to get to be before it gets crazy? Like, do you have that in mind? Do you have a goal in mind for that?
Yeah, we don't have an exact number, but I'll say a couple things about that. Number one, the bigger we get, the more opportunities we see, and we like that.
Yep.
Like I was saying, and it's in different practice areas, different types of clients, different geographies. So, and you come to the attention of different groups of clients and people. So that's one thing. Having said that, we do prioritize our culture.
Hmm.
And we started this law firm for a reason. One of the reasons, well, multiple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons we started it, it was not to be a clone of all the other law firms in Philadelphia or New York or whatever other geography. We wanted to do something different. And what
Yep.
did we want to do differently? We felt we wanted to have a culture that felt different to the lawyers and to the clients. And when you get to be 1,000 lawyers or 2,000 lawyers or even 500 lawyers, it starts to feel different. Not that
Oh yeah.
that has a lot of advantages, but it also has disadvantages. And it starts to feel different. It starts to, feel, less like a boutique with personalized service and more, sort of machine like, or
Yep.
just it relies heavily on systems, and this is how we do things, and people get into very specialized niches, and there's less opportunity for moving between different types of legal practice, looking for opportunities, and those types of things. So we emphasized all of that. We emphasized collaboration and teamwork amongst the team, because in these larger organizations, sometimes that can be a challenge.
Yep.
And I think people feel that the minute that, people say, like, we've crossed the line and you can no longer, now you might as well be like anybody else around here, then we're going to say, wait a minute, maybe we're doing something, maybe we're growing too large, right? So that's how we measure how big we want to be. The other thing I would say is we put a high value on not just the legal business, but also opportunities that are related to or ancillary to the legal business. So if we see a business opportunity, whether it's a client opportunity or somebody, or for, a contact or a friend or whatever it is,
Hmm.
sometimes we'll help them do it. And
Yeah.
sometimes we'll say, that looks like a great opportunity. We want to be part of that in some way. And so we've started businesses that have come out of the client work that we do. And,
Great.
in a number of cases, we've partnered with clients and other organizations to launch those businesses. And so that's very important to us. So that, when you talk about numbers of how big are you going to be, those businesses will have their own sets of numbers and employees and those types of things. But we're going to keep, as a law firm, as a pure law firm, we'll keep growing until we feel like we've crossed the line, and now we can't maintain the type of culture that's important to us.
Now, they always say when you build a business that the riches are in the niches. So if you
Mhm.
had to figure out like the top 4 areas that your law firm is going to be known for, what would that be?
Well, certainly we've done on the corporate side, when you look at small, emerging growth, middle market, lower middle market businesses, they have a lot of the same needs that larger companies have.
Mhm.
They and they need sophisticated, efficient, timely, cost-effective, but creative legal counsel. And
Mhm.
so our niche was to focus on that part of the market. And so, I think it really translates across all of our practice areas in slightly different ways. But, on the corporate side, which is our largest practice area, the corporate transactional practice area, we do, our bread and butter is mergers and acquisitions. And, we're doing anything from, very small ones to the, that are a few hundred thousand to a few hundred million. But most of them are, I would say 5 million to 50 million, most of them. And, that's for some people, that's their baby. They worked on it their whole life, or a good percentage of their career, and now they're ready to sell it. And we want to be there with them. I mean, really, ideally, we'd be there with them the whole ride, from the time,
Yep.
from inception to exit. And we do that. We've done that in a bunch of different cases, and we love doing that. We're also, we also get called at the last minute. We're selling our company. We have a letter of intent. Can you help us? What's that going to look like? And we do those as well. And, we're able to do those very effectively. But we love working with entrepreneurs. We love working with small and medium-sized businesses, and bringing the sophisticated training and approach that they could get at a larger law firm, but we think with more attention, because at the larger law firms, they're focusing on the deals that are going to be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and they're really good at that, and they should focus on that. Some of our deals are in the papers, but a lot of our deals are not, and we think they're just as much important, just with a few less zeros on the end. And so that's the market niche that we're focused on, and then
Yep.
we're able to apply that in all of our different practice areas.
So, I was asking you at the beginning of the show
Yeah.
offline was, what's that one thing that you might have done differently? Didn't you think of something to share with the team here?
Yeah, well, I would say so. I mentioned that I've been able to use business tools and planning tools, and I mentioned,
Mhm.
strengths finders. I think, and I experimented with some other things early on in the founding the firm, but I think we, as a management team, we probably could have used more outside support and organizations and advice. I think EO is an amazing organization, and as you mentioned, I joined it about a year and a half ago, and it's been amazing for me. I wish that I had done something like that, 10 or 15 years ago. And it's not that I didn't try. I did try, I did think about it, but I didn't really find the right thing at the time.
Mhm.
And then, you look some, and then things are moving along, and, they seem to be working well, and things have worked fantastically well for us. But so at times you sort of forget about it, until, you face a challenge or an opportunity that you say, well, maybe I could use another perspective on this.
Right.
And that's what I was able to do when I joined EO a year and a half ago. But if I had to do it all over again, I would have wished that I had found that organization, 12 to 15 years ago. Just
Yeah, EO is a gem. And people don't realize it. And I wish people who have companies that are 1 to 5 years old would just like put their head completely in it, because it's going to help you soar if you want to grow your business. But I had to do a little coercing of you, Neil,
Yeah, yes, you
to
did.
join.
But you're very good at that. You're very good at that. So, yeah.
So I've been told. And it's just showing that what you need. And usually when you're going through things in your life or change, it's just nice to have a group of people that really understand it, been there, and they share their experiences. And you don't realize how much you need that conversation, until you don't have it, so it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. How about, let's talk real quickly and change it to AI. How do you think AI is going to change the legal side of the house?
Yeah, well, it's a question that's talked about in the legal press almost every day.
I bet.
Yeah, and the question's really still open, because it has great promise, and there are a lot of things that AI could hypothetically do, and some law firms are using it, and we use it to a small degree, for tasks that maybe are more road, and we want our people to be able to focus on when they can on higher value add opportunities. There are, it's a technology that's yet to be perfected. You've probably read that, and you've seen in other areas that use AI and it comes up with stuff that's not accurate. And in the legal field, what that means is lawyers have tried to use it to write submissions to courts, their briefs and other things. And unfortunately, at times it can create cases that don't exist.
Yeah.
And so, that's a problem because you then need to go back and check the work of the AI. It's almost creating, same amount of work, but
Yeah.
so, or it could even be more work, because sometimes when you need to fix something that you don't know what's wrong and what's right, then it's like, where do I start?
Yep.
So there's a lot of promise. I mean, there's a lot of promise. We work on a lot of documents. Some could be filled in with intelligence that's not human intelligence. But there's a lot that requires judgment and nuance and sophisticated knowledge. And I don't know if this is a secret, but I want to say the secret about AI in the legal field is that it requires a lot of training by lawyers, right? It doesn't just like one day wake up, program it, and all of a sudden it knows law or how to practice law. You have to iterate with it as a lawyer. You have to, train it what to do. So
You do. Same as HR. I think HR is going through that thing right now too. We're trying to figure those pieces out and how it's going to affect like every facet of it, but nobody really knows the answer yet. So that's a good thing, but it's also going to be interesting because everybody's going to be like the expert and they're not really going to be the expert. So it's going to be an interesting time we're going to be living in the next, like I said, several years around AI, which is going to be interesting for sure. So I know that we've been talking for a while. I try to make these somewhat quick and easy.
Okay.
How people get a hold of you? Because I know we use you a lot of times for our employment law issues. How can people get a hold of you?
Sure. So they can email me, ncooper at RCC, that's two C's, B as in boy, law.com. ncooper at rccblaw.com.
Awesome. And then I always ask my last question, what book, or do you do books or Audible, and what book are you reading?
I do both, books and Audible, although, as I get older, it's harder for me to stay awake when I'm reading an actual book. So I tend to move toward Audible. A book I heard about at EO called by Dan DePani, the power of focus, or it's the power of I think it's like high level focus or something like that. It's an amazing book. He's a former Hindu monk who became an author and an entrepreneur. And it's very powerful to think about, in this world where you're pulled in many different directions by the internet, your phone, your watch, everything else, how to focus your mind so that you can really accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So I highly recommend it.
Well, it always sounds so easy to focus, but we all know being entrepreneurs, it's not.
Yes.
And so with that, today's is top three, everybody. I'm Marcia O'Connor. I am your host for top three, and we're entrepreneurs share your secrets and mistakes. And we're so excited to have Neil Cooper. He is basically the founder and executive partner of Royer Cooper Cohen in Braunfeld, which again is a Mid-Atlantic boutique law firm founded in 2012 that is growing rapidly and does phenomenal job in customer service. We would know, we use them out there. So until next time out there, keep on plugging, keeping those entrepreneurs. Don't give up. We're here for you. And again, we're top three. Take care, everybody.